Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Strong Opinion Hibs podcast. I'm the host today, Charlie, and I'm joined as always by Calvin and Jack. Calvin, how you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Aye, not bad. Busy day, but good. Jack, how are you?
I'm on 7 to half 3s at work just now, so getting up in the morning has been a bit brutal, but good to be back on the podcast again. So, after a busy day, but it's good to be back to preview the season.
Aye, like Jack said, we're doing our season preview. It seems to be the flavour of the month with all the podcasts just now, so we thought we'd jump on. We'll be doing 2 episodes this week. We're doing a men's and a women's, so we're going to start with the men's. And Calvin, I was watching our season preview episode from last season, so I just thought I'd rattle through them for the listeners, just so that they can probably laugh at how wrong we were. So just as we were recording last season, we were just about to jump into our European game against Santa Coloma. So we started with that, and we both said that we'd make the playoffs of the Europa League conference. And we were very wrong because we went out the round before that. So we also both said that we'd finish third in the league, which most of us will know that was not the case.
Closer to third bottom.
Closer to third bottom, aye. We both said we'd win a cup, which, to be fair, we were close to that. Aye, we both said we'd win a cup.
Jesus Christ, what were we smoking back then?
I know. And last thing we previewed was who would have a breakout season. You said Jake Doyle-Hayes, which is ironic because you didn't like him that much. And I said,
Jesus.
I said Dan Mackay, who never featured for Hibs at all last season, other than in friendlies and in the. So evidently, we're not very good when it comes to predicting these things. So
need to can this if this
I
was
think Calvin was eating too many blue Smarties that time, eh?
We're going to
Jake Doyle-Hayes, Jesus Christ.
We're going to hope that we can get it right this time. So I'm going to put it on the screen, and as you can see, I've got a wee spreadsheet made up. So we're all going to go through it, talking about what we think is going to be the predictions for this season. So I'll start with you, Calvin. Where do you think we're going to finish in the league this season? And maybe give us a reason why.
I'll say I'm stuck between 2 positions, but I'll go for 6th place. I feel like Lee Johnson, we're back to building again because we had Jack Ross for 2 years and he built that squad to get them to 3rd place. So I just feel like he's a lot of new signings. He's going to have to build a foundation before we can start thinking, before we can get back to perhaps where we were. No last season just passed, but the season before when we finished 3rd. So a lot of new faces in that. I think they're going to need quite a wee bit of time to gel and all that. And I think some of the other teams like Aberdeen, they've strengthened really well. I think they've got 10 or 11 new players and they seem to have hit the ground running a wee bit with 4 wins out of 4 in the League Cup and things like that, and without conceding a goal as well. So I just feel like Dundee United have obviously strengthened as well, keeping a hold of Levitt and then adding the likes of like a bit experienced Stephen Fletcher in that as well. I feel like Hearts will obviously be good as well with their additions, and the Old Firm are probably out of touch for us. So I think it'll be between maybe us and Motherwell for that 6th spot.
Aye, fair. Jack, where are you thinking?
I'm going to say that we'll come 5th this season.
5th. And any reason for that belief?
So I think I'm going along the same track as Calvin, to be honest, with why we maybe. I think obviously Ron Gordon said we're a top 4. I don't think we're quite there yet. We're not the finished product. Lee Johnson's doing a lot of building, so I don't think we're nowhere near the finished product actually. But I think we've still got a good enough squad on paper, and I know on paper and what actually happens on the park are 2 completely different things with Hibs. But I think we've got enough there that we could come 5th, and of course 5th could be European football as well. I think European football is something that we should be challenging for, but I just don't think we're good enough to break into that 3rd or 4th. I think 1st and 2nd, the Real Madrid, Celtic and Rangers, we know that they'll be way out ahead probably. And I think Dundee United and Hearts are both strengthened well, so I just can't see us really sort of challenging them for 3rd or 4th. At the same time, I look at Motherwell, they've just been beat by Sligo Rovers in the Europa Conference League. They're not out, but they got beat at home by Sligo Rovers in the Conference League. And you look at sort of the other bottom 6 sides, or sides that you'd expect to be in and around the bottom 6, and you go, okay, we're maybe no great right now, but neither are they.
Yeah.
So I think we're definitely got enough to come 5th, and hopefully that would be enough for Europe, because because of Scotland's coefficient, fifth would be good enough as a European place. So I'm hoping we'll get a wee European journey as well.
Aye, I'm going to agree with you, Jack. I think fifth. I think we've got a good enough team to push the top half of the season, but I don't think we'll finish any higher than fifth this season. I think what you're saying is right, Calvin, as well. I think we're in that rebuild phase where probably next season's where we'll push to the upper end of the table. But I mean, after last season, I would be happy with fifth. I think. I don't think we're going to finish any lower than sixth to be honest. So obviously we're out of the League Cup, so we can't really predict that. So I'll come to you first this time, Jack, on the Scottish Cup. Where do you think we'll end up in the Scottish Cup?
I'm going to say the semi-finals.
Another semi-final disappointment?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, we've got that. Depending on how the run goes, obviously, but I think we've got that record of we always get to Hampden, apart from the League Cup. We'll not talk about that, but we've got that record of we always get to Hampden in competitions, and I think Lee Johnson, the Scottish Cup's going to be the big I mean, if he's still Hibs manager by the time we get to the semi, we don't know how trigger happy Ron's been, obviously with Maloney, and I think he was a wee bit trigger happy with Jack Ross as well. So I think looking at it, I think if Lee Johnson's still in the dugout, I think the pressure's going to be there. He needs to do well in the Scottish Cup, but I think if we get to the semi-final, I see the Old Firm and Hearts will be all in there for the Scottish Cup. You'd think they'll all want to be in it to win it. Obviously, with Rangers and Celtic, and I think after that disappointing final loss to Rangers, I think Hearts will really want to be in it to win it this season as well. So I think if we get this, I can't see us getting past the semi-finals. I think we play either Hearts or one of the Old Firm and probably lose. So I think our run to the semis, with maybe some interesting away days would be nice. So I think that's what I'm saying. I just don't think we've got the quality in us to get to a final this season. To be honest, never mind even thinking about lifting a cup. I don't think we've got enough quality as of yet to get to a final and really sort of be properly challenging for the trophy. Because the Scottish Cup, you need to be at the top of your game. It's the big competition.
Mm-hmm. Aye, well, I think we're going to get to the quarters. I don't think we're going to make Hampden ever this season at all. I'm just not convinced that we're going to get there after what I've seen in the League Cup. So I'll say quarterfinals. Calvin, yourself?
I was thinking quarterfinals as well. I think our luck's probably maybe just run out a wee bit. I feel like we've been obviously Hampden's been like Easter Road of the West in recent years. So I just feel like it's I feel like this season's a rebuild, man. I'm not really looking forward to it, to be honest with you. I don't know the team well enough I don't really know the team well enough. I haven't seen them play yet this season, which is shocking for a podcast host. I'm obviously not a true fan, but quarterfinals for me, mate. I just don't think they'll have it in them.
Aye, well, we'll move on to player of the year, and I'll start us off this one. I think what I've seen of him in pre-season, I think Ewan Henderson's going to be our player of the year. I think he's definitely been the standout so far in terms of, he's scored a few goals. He's played really well. So I'm going to go for him for player of the year. Jack, come to you next.
I think my player of the year, you know what? I'm going to say Elias Melkerson. Seriously, I think he's going to come good this season. I genuinely think he's going to come good this season. I think what we've seen of him, he's a bit shaky in front of goal still, but what we've seen of him in the League Cup games and in the friendlies, he's looked better. I thought he took his goal. I think particularly that goal against Clyde, he took really well. So I think for me, Melkerson's going to really come good this season, and I think he will be our player of the year, and I think he's going to be a big important player for us this season, because I really think now that he's maybe got a chance to get used to Scotland and he's brought the duck, if you like, with scoring, I think he's going to get more confident, and as each game goes on, I think he's going to grow from strength to strength.
Aye. And Calvin, who's your player of the year this season?
I'm going to go for David Marshall. I think David Marshall will be really important this season. I think Macy put us under unnecessarily pressure at times last season, just with his distribution and things like that. And I feel like Hearts last season had an extremely solid goalkeeper, which probably won them about 12 points, which I think will be the difference for us this season. I think he'll pull us out the ditch a couple of times and perhaps keep us in games when we should maybe be behind, or keep us in front in games that we'll need to see out and things. I think his experience will be really good. So I'm going to say David Marshall.
Aye, definitely. And I'll come to you first, Calvin, for young player. So young players, anyone under 23. So Port just won it last season, so he can't be voted on for this one.
Right. Young player of the year. Right. Okay. I think it'll probably be Melkerson. I think Melkerson could be in with a shout. I also think Rocky Bashiri could be in with a shout.
Yep.
Once he gets a wee bit of time, he settles and he sort of make his own mind up. But I think Melkerson will play probably a more vital role this season in terms of where we're going to end up become the end of the year. So I'll say Melkerson.
Nice. And Jack, who are you going for?
I think, Calvin took the words out of my mouth with Rocky. I think Rocky's going to be the young player of the year. I think he's growing in confidence. You can see it. I think it's a bit of irony that against Morton he was actually one of the best players in the park. It turned out he wasn't even meant to be playing. But that shows you how good he is, though. He isn't even meant to play in a game and he's still one of our best players. But I think Rocky's growing in confidence and he's got a point to prove as well. He's got a huge point to prove. And I think, for me, he's looked twice the player he was last season already.
Totally.
So I think he's going to come on to a good one this season, and I think he'll get a well-deserved young player of the year.
Yeah. I'm going to go for Ellie Yuan for young player of the year. I think he is going to have a fantastic season for us. And I also didn't want to jump on the bandwagon of who you have both said, so I'll go for Ellie Yuan. So Jack, I'll come to you first for best signing this season. So obviously we've made 10 or 11 signings, and I'm not including Henderson or Rocky in these because they were already at Hibs. So Jack, who's going to be our best signing this season?
I think I'm going to piggyback off of what Calvin said when he was talking about Marshall for player of the year, and I think Marshall's going to turn out to be our best signing. Experienced goalkeeper, and I think he is going to have that Craig Gordon effect on us.
Yeah.
Where he saves us a lot of points. I think you look at it, especially early on in the season, there's a few games where Hearts looked quite shaky, and Craig Gordon properly, I think that game against Livingston, you've seen that rocket from, I can't remember what livery player it was, and Gordon, it made it look easy saving it. And I think David Marshall's going to have a similar sort of effect us. And I think, what we've been crying out for a wee while is a solid, experienced, dependable goalkeeper that's got a bit of veteran experience. We look at it when we had Leighton, for example, back in the day. Leighton, proper experienced Scotland goalkeeper, and he's one of the best goalkeepers that's ever graced the shirt. And I think David Marshall's going to be the same. So I'm definitely saying David Marshall will turn out to be our best signing in the long run.
Aye, definitely. Calvin, come to you next, mate.
If I'm going player of the year, David Marshall, it makes sense for me to also say that David Marshall is going to be our best signing. Just for all the reasons that Jack listed there, I just think that if you look at the season when we had Rocky, we obviously finished third. He was very important for us there, and I just don't feel like we had that last season, and I think it cost us at times. So I think Marshall will step up his game massively, unless he gets lobbed through the halfway line in his first game.
I hope not. I'm going to go for Nohan Kenna for signing of the season. I think,
right,
in terms of games played, I think it'll be either him or Marshall that'll play most out of the new signings, I think. And I think Kenna's what we've missed in the midfield from what I've seen, I think. So I'll go for him.
Is he a bit like a Bartley? Because I've never seen him play. What type of style is he?
He reminds me of Bartley a wee bit. I think he's still a bit raw, though. Like, definitely against Morton, he misplaced 3 or 4 passes, but I think he's obviously still adapting to the game, but he's definitely that. But it'll be interesting to see at the derby, because that's obviously the game that you watch these types of players in. So I think he will be a bit like Marvin Bartley in those kind of games. So we'll move on to the next topic, and it's the one I've titled Josh Doig season, which is where someone's going to come into the team and is going to fight for that position and really impress the fans. So you'll remember back in the COVID season, Josh Doig and Stevenson both fought for that left back position. So Calvin, I'll start with you. Is there a player that maybe in the development team, one of the younger players that you think will have a sort of that kind of season this season?
I don't think it'll be anyone in the development team for me, so to say. I think for me, when I seen you put that in, the one that came to my mind was going to be Melkerson. I don't know if he's too old to fit into that category or what you're thinking, but I think I
think it'll definitely be someone that can fight for that position. So Melkerson.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely give Lee Johnson a headache this season, especially I think Nisbet's out till November or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
I think that he's he probably looks at himself as the main man potentially. And I think, like you see, he's obviously bulked up a bit over the summer, and I've seen videos on Instagram of him training and that all throughout the summer with his Hibs gear and that on. So he seems very committed, and I think that he's already in about the goals with pre-season. I think he's got 4 or 5 already. So I think he'll fancy himself, but I also think he'll be relied on quite a lot this season. And I think he's the sort of player that kind of strives under pressure a little bit. So I'm going to say Melkerson.
Aye. And Jack, who's having that sort of breakthrough season for you this season?
You know what? I'm gonna put my neck on the line a bit here, and I'm gonna say Dylan Tate. I think if he doesn't go out on loan and he stays, I really can see the lad having a breakthrough season and really impressing, because obviously our midfield right now, I think Lee Johnson's going to have to change it up. With the midfield three for last season didn't work, and I think we're still experimenting with what combination work. And I think Dylan Tate's got a chance in there. You know, from what I've heard, he looked good when he came on against Norwich. He's been looking good in the development squad's pre-seasons that he's been taking part in. So I think, to be honest, for me, Dylan Tate is a player with a lot of potential. He's been good on loan as well. So I think the lads, if he stays and doesn't go out on another loan spells, got a really big chance, because I think what he'll do is he'll prove to Lee Johnson, you know what, I should have a place in this team. And we signed him for a reason. We must have, but we didn't sign the laddie because he was bad. And I think if he gets given that chance to prove himself, he'll become a star. Mark my words, he'll become a star, and it's a statement I'm prepared to die by. So definitely, I could see. I mean, well, maybe a bit extreme there, but I could definitely see Dylan Tate having a breakthrough, Josh Doig style season. I really hope so, because he's a young lad that I've got a lot of faith in. I'm saying young lad, he's older than me, but you know what I mean. He's a player that I've got a lot of faith in. A very good player. And I think he's definitely, with the way our midfield is right now, he definitely has a chance in there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go for someone in the same sort of position, but different. I'm going to go for Alan Del Ferrier. I think he came on Sunday against Norwich and really held his own. And I think Dylan Tate and Del Ferrier should be in that squad, I would say. I don't think there's a reason why they shouldn't be. I think they're both talented players. And it would be nice to see Lee Johnson giving players that chance this year, and from sort of younger end, because he is a manager that does like to do that a lot. So hopefully we see some of those. So Jack, come to you first this time, mate. Big improvement on last season. So players that were here last season, who are you expecting to have a big improvement this season?
You know what? I think I'm going to go with my young player of the year, Rocky. I think Rocky is going to be the most improved this season from last season. I think, like I said already, even just a couple of games in, and with pre-season, looking twice the player he was last season, I think you can tell he's really coming onto his game more. He's looking more confident. So I think we're going to see a huge improvement out of Rocky this season. A bit like what I said about Melkerson as well, is the more the games go on, the more he gets played, I think Rocky's confidence going to grow. So it's an easy one for me. No brainer. Rocky's my big improvement.
Calvin, for yourself?
I think I'm kind of thinking the 3 players at the moment. I agree with Jack with Rocky. I think Rocky, if he stops listening to POTY and sort of plays his own game, I think he can really step out and sort of make a mark for his own, because I think he sort of hangs on every word that POTY says to him, from what I've seen when they're playing together. I also think that Kevin Nisbet will have a big improvement this season when he comes back. I think the new system might suit him a bit better. He only managed 7 goals in all competitions last season, so I think he could beat that tally if he's got someone up alongside him in the service and the midfield's a bit better. I think he could improve there. And the last player I was thinking of was who was I thinking of? Ewan Henderson. I think Ewan Henderson will have a better season this year as well. So big improvement. I'll go with Henderson, because I think he's probably, out of the 3 of them, the most disappointing. Or disappointed me the most last season. I thought he would have really had a good season, but nah, I think he fell well short of the mark. Like,
I'm going to go for Jake Doyle-Hayes. I think Jack, I agree with what you're saying about Rocky, but I think Jake will have a better season than he did last season. And obviously, he only scored those 2 goals, didn't really assist much. So I think when we see a wee bit more for Doyle-Hayes this season, depending on how often he plays and what sort of style he plays, but I think we'll see a better season from him. So I'll kick us off.
He'll be punted in January. He'll be punted in January.
I'll kick us off with a letdown, and I'm not going to go Paul Hanlon. I'll spoil that right now. I think that This is a hard one because I didn't want to write anyone off before the season starts, but I think we'll be let down by Ryan Porteous this season. I think I don't think he wants to be here anymore, and I think he's probably gonna. I don't think he's going to sign that contract, so I don't think he's going to be playing up to his usual standards. So I think I'll go for Ryan Porteous for letdown. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I can't see it.
Do you think that's disciplinary record as well, Charlie, will let us down with? Because that's sort of where our season turned last year against Rangers away, even though it was near full and there was 55,000 Rangers fans there and no Hibs fans.
I mean, that was the definite start of the downfall for the season, and he did get sent off a few times. So that's very much up there, mate. That's a potential for being a letdown. Calvin, come to you next, mate. Who's going to be a letdown for this season, do you think?
Go to Jack quickly, because I'm still thinking, to be honest with you.
All right, Jack, we'll come to you.
I'm going to throw a grenade in here, and I'm going to say Aidan McGeady.
I'm
going to say Aidan McGeady is going to be the letdown, because so far what I've seen of him is he's missed 2 penalties, been far too intricate against Morton, then got carted off injured in a pre-season against Norwich. So, to be honest, I think Aidan McGeady's coming with an impressive CV. Everybody thought, he's going to be another sort of Frank Sauzet figure. The difference is Frank Sauzet was in a much better condition fitness-wise than McGeady. I think, and also Frank Sauzet had more of a professional attitude. I think McGeady, to me, I've just not been convinced of him so far at all. And what it is if we were going to get a washed-up has-been, the Gary O'Connor's available. Come on, nah, I'm kidding. But I love you guys, but seriously, I think with me, McGeady's come in with all this hype and he's just not going to live up to it. I think maybe a couple of years ago, and I think if we were going to get an Irish, has-been, Anthony Stokes, come on. But I think, to be honest, McGeady's just going to be poor, and I think he's probably going to spend more time on the treatment table than he will on the pitch. That's my prediction right now. I don't think he's a big saviour that people are making him out to be.
Well, we'll see, mate. I hope you're wrong, because Aidan's one of my favourite players. So I hope you're wrong.
Get your away shirt exchanged.
I know. I got the curse. Anyway, Calvin, who's going to let you down this season?
I'm really struggling with this one, to be honest with you. I'm really struggling with it, but I'll go ahead and I'll say I think that Jake Doyle-Hayes will continue to be a letdown for me. I just don't feel like he's going to play that big a part this year. And I feel like when he's called upon, perhaps off the bench or something like that, I'm not sure he's going to step up to the plate, even though he's just been given the number 8, the number 8 jersey and things like that, which is obviously like a number that's sort of associated with an important role in the team. But I just don't think he's going to have it. From what I've seen so far, I'm not entirely sure, but I might chuck wee Mitchell's name in there as well. But nah, I'll go with Jake Doyle-Hayes, because you've wrote it in.
Doyle-Hayes is your handling, by the way. I mean, I was thinking about this. Doyle-Hayes
definitely, I told you I had those awkward conversations when we went to that women's game, eh?
Oh,
did I tell you about that? Nah.
Aye, the derby.
I was like, can I get a picture, mate? And I was like, hi, how are you? And he's just like, I was like, what? What? I'm just saying, how are you? Like, just answer the question. It's so weird.
Starstruck.
I was like, get me out of here, man.
He was starstruck. Anyway, Calvin, coming to you first for this one. Top goal scorer, and I'm going to push you for how many goals they're going to score in all competitions. Obviously, League Cup, there's a few players that have scored. So Doig just scored 3, so you can add that to his number. I'm hoping you don't think it's Doig's top goal scorer, but anyway, you get the gist.
I'll say Melkerson with 14.
14.
Is that fair?
I think so. We'll see.
I just feel like he'll have a bit of a head start on this bit. And I think he'll be in the right, like a striker that's in the right place at the right time. So I'll say him.
Yeah. Okay. Jack, we'll come to you next, mate.
I'm going to say, because he's looked like an utter machine every time he's played so far, like pre-season, I'm going to say Eliuan with 14 as well, though. So I'm going to say the same amount, but I'm going to say Eliuan instead, because I think he's looked brilliant in pre-season.
Yeah, and
he scored all 5 against Norwich in that development squad game as well.
He did. And his work permit just came through today, so he'll be able to play on Saturday, which is good news. I'm going to say Eliuan as well, but I think he'll get 16 goals.
Ooh.
I think he'll be a top player for us. And I think he'll get 16. So we'll move on to top assists, and Jack, come to you first.
Ooh, this is difficult. This is difficult because there's a few players I've got in mind here that I know like it'll be. You know, what I'm going to say a new boy, Kabraja, the Croatian boy. Just to upset with you with the spelling there, Charlie.
I
No, I'm
think
kidding.
that's how you spell his first name, Marianne. We'll go with that.
Okay,
Call him Dave.
We'll do what we do on Football Managers. Call him Dave.
Dave.
So I think with Kabraja, I think Marianne's Croatian for Dave anyway. Nah, so I think Kabraja, I'm going to say Kabraja will get the top assists. I'm going to go with 8 assists this season.
That's fair.
Because I think he looks good, and he was quite prolific with the assists when he was playing for Ferencvaros, and he was in Hungary as well. So he is a good assister. Like
another one whose work permit just came through today as well. So hopefully both you and Kabraja get started on Saturday. That would be ideal. I'm going to say Jair Tavares will be our top assister this season, and I think he'll get 9 assists. Oh, not 0, 9. I think Jair's going to be an important player for us this season. I really liked what I've seen of him so far. I think he's a tricky winger, and he put a few decent balls into the box against Morton and against Norwich in the 45 minutes he played. So I'm hoping that he's going to get a decent number of assists this season. Calvin, yourself?
I'm going to go with Ewan Henderson, and I think he'll come up with 6.
6. No, you think Melkerson's going to get 14 goals but only 6 assists for Henderson, where Melkerson's going to go some
potentially? Aye. Well, listen, if you look at the amount of assists we got last year, the highest was quite. So was it Joe Newell with 4 or something like that? So
aye, that's true.
Don't know if we'll have that big an increase in it. To be honest with you, I think they'll come all over the player. I think your man McGiddy and that'll show up as well, and I think that Noah Kenny and that'll be all right as well. So we'll see.
Aye. And last section, Calvin, I'll come to you first. Who's going to get the most bookings this season for Hibs?
I'm gonna say Bishiri because I think there's almost like how there's an agenda with POTY. I think there's starting to be agenda with Bishiri.
It could be the case. It could be the case after these.
And I think teams will try and wind Bashiri up because I think they might know that they might try and they might feel that they can get a reaction out of him just because he's been in the spotlight so much, and try and highlight the fact maybe people think he's a bad player or isn't good enough or needs more time to develop. I think people might try and play on that, and I could see him getting drawn into stuff this year. So I'm saying Bashiri.
Fair. Jack?
You know, I think most booked, I'm going to give it to Noah Kenny. I think he likes to crunch into the tackles. We've seen that in pre-season. I think he's going to end up being the most booked, to be honest, which is good in a way. You want your defensive midfielders to be getting in there and getting nasty.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go for Lewis Miller. I think there's a few pacey wingers in the league that I think Lewis Miller is going to enjoy snapping, and hopefully his first booking comes in the Hearts game. And I hope it's when wee Lauren Shanklin's running past him, he just wipes them out. And that'll be him first booking. And I hope he continues. I hope he doesn't get booked too many, but I think he'll be our top booked person this year. So there we have it. Where's our predictions? If it comes to this, we're in for a relatively decent season, I would say. We'll get some goals, and we'll get some goals if one of these comes in, which is nice. So we'll just spend the next 5 minutes. Obviously, we're league campaign kicks off on Saturday away to St Johnstone. I'm going representing the podcast. None of you plastics are going.
Good man.
So, Calvin, I'll come to you first, mate. Are you excited about the season starting? And sort of what's your score prediction for Saturday?
I wouldn't say I'm particularly excited about it. I feel like it's came around really, really quick, and I maybe haven't had enough time to sort of forget about last season, to be honest with you. But no, of course it's exciting listening in and going to watch Hibs every week and that, to be fair, and keeping up with the scores and all that and having the banter with the guys at work and that. So no, I'm looking forward to the season getting started, but I think that it'll be a boring game. I think St Johnstone are a really horrible team to play against. I think that it'll be really hard to break them down, and I think you've seen from the Falkirk game and the Morton game when they were at Easter Road, teams that sit in, they're really hard to break down, and we still seem to find it difficult to break down. So I am predicting a very boring 0-0. And that will truly set the stone for them, or truly sort of set the tone for the Hibs are back. Nice 0-0 away to St Johnstone.
Aye, I hope you're
I'm a
wrong.
miserable bastard, eh?
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
You've taken that role for me when we're on the podcast, which is nice. Jack, are you excited for the season starting and your score prediction?
I'm going to continue to be the happy clapper. Yes, I am excited for the season. You know what? It's about putting last season behind us. Last season was a horror show. This season's not got off to the best start or the debacle in the League Cup. But I think, you know what? It's a big league campaign. I think Lee Johnson plays some exciting football at times. I think he was more of a league manager when he was down south as well. He did better in the league. So I'm excited for it. Definitely, because it's all about a new season, some new faces in and about the squad, some exciting. Obviously, we might be getting that boy for Uruguay coming through soon as well. So I think some exciting signings still to come. So I'm excited, and I'm going to say in terms of a score prediction, 1-0 Hibs. I think we'll get a tight 1-0 win, and Yuan to score the winner.
I am going to follow more of Jack's vein. I'm excited about the season starting. I think from what I could see in the pre-season friendlies against sort of better opposition than we had in the League Cup, we're actually better against teams that sort of like Norwich. We played really well on Saturday, albeit it was their reserve team. I think teams that are going to take the game to us, I think we're going to fare a lot better this season against, like your Hearts, your Dundee United, your Aberdeen, your Celtic, your Rangers. I think we'll take points off all of them this season. I really do. Teams that sit in, we're going to struggle, I think. So I think for Saturday, I think it's going to be a very, very tight affair, and I think we'll win 2-0. I think
2-0, wow.
I think 2-0. I think St Johnstone aren't up to much this season. I think they'll probably go down, and I think we'll get.
Do you?
I think so.
Wow.
They've lost Sander Clark and their sub-keeper's guff. So
all right, okay, that's a good point.
Well, let James Scott score against them 3 times.
I think Ellie Yuan will score, and I think Melkerson will score the winner. So
good.
Unless Calvin, you had something to say.
I was going to ask you one thing. Just what you touched on there, because it would be nice to make what's your sort of strong opinion for the season ahead? Because last year I made the claim that St Johnstone wouldn't beat us once because obviously we lost the cup to them the year before twice, basically semi-final and final. So is there a big claim you maybe have? It could be something like Charlie, you've just said you think we'll take points off, the sort of top 3 already, Hearts, Celtic, and Rangers. Do you see us winning a derby this season? Do you see us beating Old Firm?
Jack, you can kick us off for this one.
Okay, my strong opinion for the upcoming season is we are going to finally win a derby at Easter Road after all these years. I think first game of the season, and I'm going to get made to regret this, so Jambos get the digs in now. I think we're going to win that first derby at Easter Road. I don't know about Tigers, but I think we're going to win both derbies at Easter Road this season because it's about time. We've been long overdue a home derby win, so it is about high time that we do it.
Cool.
Aye, Calvin, what's your? I am going to say that our top goal scorer will finish 5 goals clear of the Hearts' top goal scorer this season.
Wow.
Not that we're obsessed or anything.
I think they'll finish above us, but I think one player in our team will collectively score. I think, say for example, Yuan gets 16. I think Shankland or Boyce will get 11. Is what I'm saying. They'll have more players that will score goals, but our top goal scorer will finish 5 clear of theirs.
Right. I think that I'm struggling with this one. No, I think that do you know what? I think we'll take points off of Celtic this season and Hearts, but I don't think we'll take any off Rangers.
Fair. Well, there we are. That brings us to the end of our second episode this week. We'll be back with a third one later in the week. But until next time, come on, Hibs.